Hi guys, this video is going to go over all of the changes that has been made since the 4.0 update. The Zap Tracker is currently in the 6.0 update, which means there has been a lot of changes, and none of them have been documented in video form yet. This video is going to detail all the changes, but all of the changes are actually documented in the game if you download the new version. So if you read past 4.0, you can read about all of the changes that have been made on your own if you want to experience all the new changes instead of listening to this video. 1.0 files should convert better now. I've added the ability to change save file icons manually, so you'll have this big menu. You can choose between eggs of all rarities, even the portrait icons. Cycle through, just pick one and it'll be your save file icon. Magical Sanctum has been added. While in any menu, you can press the escape button on your keyboard to return to the main page. You can see the game version in the settings menu. I've added this itch.io button that'll take you to the itch page for this game's download. It can be good to check in on the itch every now and then if there are any new monsters that get added to the game. I'm gonna upload those to the Zap Tracker as well. And they'll be displayed here with images, so you don't have to download it to check if there's a new addition. Also, if the file number in the download name is different from your game version, you can tell if a new major update has been made. The filter selection has been changed to be more user-friendly. When hovering over flex eggs, you can see which islands they can be found on in the top right. A new setting was added called keep filters between files. Usually when you have filters on and then switch to a different file, it'll remove all the filters. But if you want them to stay, you can click that setting and they'll still be there even when you change file. Removing a flex egg no longer crashes the game, and this monster now shows its island stats, which it didn't before. The text and its font is no longer blurry, which it was before, so now it's much more readable. Epic Mimic and Epic Pechidna was added. Epic Bon Appetit was added to the preset menu. And the Sousa egg preset was fixed because it was wrong. The delay that you would usually have to hold down to add a preset is now removed, so you can just click and it'll add it instantly. I've added the ability to rearrange save files, so if you want to move one, you don't have to recreate the entire thing. You can just move it wherever you want. There's a better indicator for which save file you're currently on. We have this floating icon. There's this button which allows you to quickly change between all save files that you have. All presets, when you hover over them, will now show you their recipe. And now when you hover over an egg, it'll show you its incubation time. And if you have all of your breeding structures upgraded, half of that information on screen is useless. So you can go into the settings and change the breeding time to either be mixed 2x2, shows you everything. Upgraded 1x1 will only show you the upgrading breeding structures. But if you don't want it at all, you can also turn it off and have it as it was before. But I think it's useful to help you understand which monster you got if you don't know the timing, especially if it's rarer epic monsters which have weird specific times. There's a new setting called Egg History. When it's enabled and you make a change, this text in the top left will appear. So whenever you add something, it'll add the word add, and if you remove, it'll add the word remove. This is helpful if you get a sudden brain aneurysm and forget if you have checked off stuff in the Zap Tracker when you've done a breeding attempt. When you load a file, it'll prioritize rarity pages if it has eggs. So what that means is, for example, this file I'm on right now, it has common eggs. And even if I added some like rare eggs, whenever I load this file, it'll still go to the common one because common takes priority. But this file only has rare eggs, so when I open that one, it's gonna set it to the rare page because it doesn't have any common eggs, it only has rares. Same works for Epic. And in this version, Epic Flores and Epic Cantarell was added. And more save file options were added. You can add the wub boxes now. Now we're getting into the big update 6.0, which is what warranted this video in the first place. So, in my last video I said that I would not make any more devlog videos because something would fundamentally have to change about My Singing Monsters in order for me to update the game. Well, something did change, but it wasn't that the game changed, it was how I was playing it that changed. I started focusing more on getting rares and epic variants instead of zapping, but I noticed that keeping track of when those were available was also spread out across multiple islands, different UI, and it was hard to keep track of. As well as knowing the breeding combinations, you can easily look up on the Wikipedia how to breed them, but what's not to say I could add that information to the Zap Tracker. So as you can see here, not only do I have a way to track what monsters are available, but if you right click with your mouse on any egg, you'll bring up the guide menu. Guide menu will tell you what breeding combinations you can use on any island to get a monster for their common, rare, and epic variants. This wasn't a really good example, but it works for every single monster. In this menu, you can see general information. You can press this button to go to this monster's specific wiki, and if you have rare or epic enabled, it'll take you to that variant's wiki page as well. The general breeding combinations will always be displayed, but sometimes there are trivial scenarios you'll need to know about, like how making a stog isn't something you can do with a quint and stog, because that'll result in the quint more often. So you'll have to use this noteworthy breeding combination instead. Same goes for Bangler. There are some risk scenarios, like here. This can result in a noggin. If you want to get an Enchbrat, you can use this combination, and it can fail into a noggin, which only takes 5 seconds to get rid of. But a Bogart is 12 hours, which in this scenario on the left, it would be 6 hours or 2 hours for its failed attempt. So this one is like a risk-reward thing, and I've noted this here. For the fire expansion monsters, you can see their prices since you can't breed them, except for their epic versions, which can be bred. This has always been trivial and confusing, but you have to buy the common and rare versions and can breed the epic one. You can also right-click on flex eggs to see which monsters apply to them. And now for the tracking. As you can see on this display right here, I have a bunch of monsters that are currently tracking how much time is left before you can't get them anymore. And you can add these through the guide menu. So you pick a monster, and then in the bottom here it says rollover time, and you just increase the time here to however long it is available in game, and then it's available on this menu. When the time runs out, it'll say out here. You can also right click or just click in general on these to go to the guide menu. When they're out, it'll look like this, and you can choose to either increase the time if you were put in the wrong number, or you can just delete it like that, and now it'll be gone. And you can always just decrease the time to nothing to remove it. And when all of them are removed, this new menu here will not be visible. And it won't be squished anymore. Now, the rollover time is referring to the time of day in which the My Singing Monsters game updates and when it gives you your daily login bonus. that time is different depending on which region of the world you live in. Usually it's at 1 a.m. in the middle of the night, but for me it's actually 5 p.m. You can change the time in the settings to whatever it is for you. For me it's 5 p.m. But for most people it's 1 a.m. In this update I added so you could see the time limit for Woblin and Celestial presets. There was some general optimizations made to this menu, the main menu, so it'll run better. The flex egg algorithm that displays the islands in the top right was improved. I've also added every single monster to the game and more islands. The classes that have been added is Pure Magicals, all Ethereals including the Workshop, Mythicals, Paranormals, and Sugarbush Island, as well as some miscellaneous ones. Jamboree was also added to the seasonal collection. The reason these have been added is because so you can check their breeding combos, which is separate from zapping in general. So that's every new feature that has been added to the Zap Tracker since 4.0. Now before the video ends, I'll just like to show off a strategy that I've been using and why I added this quick save file switcher over here. So let's say you had a row of Woblins like this, like you're currently trying to hatch all of them because you're a sweat, and you're more so occupied with making sure all your breeding structures are making something rather than trying to fill out a Woblin at once. So let's take this guy for example, and let's say I had an empty plant island, like an empty as in nothing is being bred in the breeding structures. So I'd obviously want to fill them out so I don't waste time. But there is no plant island monsters needed for this Woblin anymore. Well, if you've lined up your presets like this, you click on the right and it goes to the next one, and oh, this one doesn't have any plant island requirements left either. I'll just click again. Oh, there are some, and then I'll pick off 2 from here. This works when you line them up like this. You can actually put as many spaces as you want in between them and it'll still work, because when you press the button it just goes until it finds a save file that isn't empty. Even if I go to this one and click right, it'll loop back around to this top one because it goes through a row, and when it goes to the end it goes to the first one of the next row, and then when it comes to the complete end it goes back up top. So if I were to press right, I would go to this one and then my other miscellaneous ones, and I can go in between this one and this one by going right. So that's what I use this feature for and why I made it, because going through this additional menu to do this, while not super impractical, this just makes it more practical. And a single additional button press can add up. Anyone who plays My Singing Monsters would know that. In order to do this thing with the filter, you'd also have to have the keep filters between files enabled. Otherwise, it would reset the filter every single time you switch between files. So yeah, that's all the new features added to the Zap Tracker. As always, if you have any more suggestions on what features could be useful for a program like this, you can always suggest in the comments or email me. And if you spot any problems or bugs, you can report those as well. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and see you later.